Okay, yeah.
Two more people. One.
Yeah.
Two more.
All right. Oh, this is on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay, my name is Eric Sheptok, and I'm a homeless advocate from Washington, D.C. And I do recall you having said that the moment is upon us, and so I kind of want you to say more about that, and also to give me some of your advice, because the landscape of D.C. being what it is, we're just now getting the homeless to where they're beginning to stand up for themselves and speak out for themselves, because they've always just kind of been, where they wouldn't come forth and they wouldn't protest, and also that there was a question earlier about teaching versus protesting and so forth, and so what I want to ask you is how you would marry those two ideas, and how you get people who are affected by things like homelessness to also sit down and talk about theory, and So yeah. Okay. So anyway, I guess to clarify my question, I would say, what advice do you have on how to get people who are affected by things like homelessness, but who have never really talked about theory to take an interest in that sort of thing?
I used to make a lot of jokes at the conference when they were all very young, and some of them stuck, some of them didn't. Some of them were the kind of thing you repeat in polite company. But anyway, one of the things I used to talk to them about is that, if you have a real propaganda machine, you can convince somebody that they had breakfast when they really didn't have breakfast. Yeah. And you can convince them that they had lunch, even if they didn't have lunch. There'll be some questions about lunch. But come summertime, and so you can't really solve problems without crisis. And we're moving very rapidly towards a kind of basic fundamental crisis where people are going to have to choose between something to eat or not something to eat. And they're going to choose something to eat. But we have to be there to show them the path to get something to eat and what's going to happen to them if they take the other path. As far as theory is concerned, this word used to scare me. But everybody's a theoretician. Everybody got ideas about how things develop. I remember we used to, when I was, teenager, early teenager, I remember how we used to argue about mind over matter, for example. Great theoretical arguments. Well, they're still arguing about it. And everybody's a theoretician. So when I found out one thing about human beings, that you approach them on a respectful level. They want to intellectually challenge and develop. But when you start giving them a line of jive, right, as if you're the almighty and they're stupid, you're not going to get very far. So yes, we have to connect with them. As far as the homeless are concerned, I want to say that at one time, we had a pretty powerful voice in the homeless movement. I was thinking about 20 years ago. We had a pretty powerful voice, but it was because we were there. Right? I mean, there were a lot of circumstances that allowed us to do this and that are preventing us from doing it right now. But we had warming shelters. We had warming shelters. We had a homeless union that was national. I remember when Time magazine, I believe it was Newsweek, listed the head of the homeless union as one of the 10 most important people in the United States. Not because of what he had done, but the potential of a homeless union. That I don't think that we're going to be Three Penny Opera, all these just thugs and everybody all grouped together. I do think, though, that as God, I hate to get into this, but I got to get into it. The new element is entering the homeless and the poverty-stricken section of America. And that is people who have had things. That you go through towns in Ohio and Michigan and so forth, and you see these big houses with a Buick sitting in the driveway, but both of them got for sale signs on them. What we call the dispossessed, right? The people who have had a good and most middle class life suddenly are cast out into absolute poverty. Don't know which way to turn. And I understand that, like the governor of Michigan is talking about 5 months on welfare and then off. What are you supposed to eat, children? I mean, the conditions are going to develop for us to appeal to the homeless, you know, on a theoretical and moral level about what they have to do. And anybody who's worked with the homeless will know that you're not dealing with a bunch of people who are homeless because they're dumb. You're dealing with a bunch of people who've had some very, very bad luck. But today I think that we're, again, you know, it's a question that we talked about the outward motion. We have to make up our minds what the critical points are, because we're a small organization. Where are we going to attack? And how are we going to attack? And what do we intend to get out of that effort? But I think the most important thing that we're facing in America today is the question of this newly dispossessed that can very well become the foundation of fascism in America, or can become the foundation of American communist movement. They're in the main fight. They're in the main have worked for generations at the same plants. In the main have not had any associations with anybody but their own ethnic group. You know, I'm not talking about white or black, I'm talking about Ukrainian or Polish or whatever like this, right? And we have very limited social knowledge. But this thing that's happening of having them cast outward, I don't know, I can look around here and I can see at least 4 people who have told me in the last period of time their children are coming back to live with them because their kids simply couldn't make it. And so it's not a question anymore about whether you're smart or dumb. It's a question of what's going on in the world economy. So yes, I think that this is a very, very important question. I think that we have to go to our organizations, go to our units. We have to have some discussions. How do we carry out this program of the day? Because this is what we're all about. Okay, I know I've used up way too much time, but thanks very much.
Nelson, I just want to thank you. I've known you for all my life, since I was 17. And I want to just say thank you. You're a great person, but more than anything, you're a great revolutionary. You and Su Yang built an organization in the 1970s that I joined back then. And I remember when I first went to one of the meetings that everything had to be translated to me because I couldn't speak English. I could understand it, but I couldn't speak it. And I've been, and I know one of the things that when I was young and, you know, kind of wild, I wanted to do things. Yeah, which is more dangerous. But I wanted revolution now. I wanted revolution now. And if it wasn't that I began to study, to learn what the problem was, what's the solution, and what's our vision, I think I would have just drifted away. So all I'm going to say is that the organization has always put education as one of the main priorities and tasks that revolutionaries have. And it's not just good to be mad and angry. We have to know where we're going. We have to know who the enemy is. And we gotta keep on the march as we're moving. And I hope Maureen sings that song at the end of the convention. Because it's a great song. But thank you, Nelson. And I also want to just mention one little thing, that I feel very proud to belong to an organization where members of the League of Revolutionary Black Workers have belonged to and have been the backbone of the organization. And I mean the comrades from Detroit, the comrades that I met. Some of them I met back in the 70s, and we met reunited with some of them again, but they have been the backbone of the organization, and I'm really honored and proud to be in the same room and in the same organization with people like Maureen, Jen, Mitch, Maureen, Waistline, and if I forgot anyone from Detroit, I forgive me, but I feel very proud to be in the room with comrades like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Good.